Welcome all. Today let us study about the origin and evolution of the earth. First let us know the origin and evolution of the universe. The universe is incomprehensibly large in size and dimension. It contains everything that exists, from the tiniest subatomic particle to galactic superclusters. Nobody knows how big the universe is, but astronomers estimate that it contains about 100 billion galaxies, each comprising an average of 100 billion stars. Most popular argument regarding the origin of the universe is the Big Bang theory. It is also called expanding universe hypothesis. Edwin Hubble in 1920 provided evidence that the universe is expanding. In Big Bang theory, in the beginning, all the matters forming the universe existed in one place in the form of a tiny ball. It is also called a singular atom with an unimaginably small volume, infinite temperature, and infinite density. At the Big Bang, the tiny ball exploded violently. This led to a huge expansion. It is now generally accepted that the event of the Big Bang took place 13.7 billion years before. The expansion continues even to the present day. As it grew, some energy was converted into matter. There was particularly rapid expansion within fraction of seconds after the bang. Thereafter, the expansion has slowed down. Within the first 3 minutes from the Big Bang event, the first atom began to form. Within 3 lakh years from the Big Bang, temperature dropped to 4500 Kelvin and gave rise to atomic matter, and the universe became the transparent. This is the present universe which explains the Big Bang theory. Now let us know about the formation of galaxies. A galaxy is a huge mass of stars, nebulae, and interstellar material. The smallest galaxies contain about 1 lakh stars, while the largest contain up to 3000 billion stars. The galaxies are the major building blocks of the universe. A galaxy is a giant family of millions of stars and held together by its own gravitational field. The universe is organized into galaxies of stars together with gas and dust. From the billions of galaxies, 3 basic types have been identified. They are spiral, elliptical, and irregular galaxies. Examples of spiral galaxies are the Milky Way and the Great Galaxy in Andromeda. The most abundant are probably the elliptical galaxies. The irregular galaxies comprise about 1/10 of the galaxies. Now let us know the formation of galaxies. The distribution of matter and energy was not even in the early universe. These initial density differences give rise to a difference in gravitational forces, and it caused the matter to get drawn together. These formed the basis for development of galaxies. A galaxy starts to form by the accumulation of hydrogen gas in the form of very large cloud called nebula. Eventually, growing nebula develops localized clumps of gases. These clumps continue to grow into even denser gaseous body, giving rise to formation of stars. The formation of stars is believed to have taken place from 5 to 6 billion years ago. Let us know the formation of planets. It also explains how our solar system is formed. The star is localized lumps of gas within a nebula. The gravitational force within the lumps lead to the formation of core to the gas cloud, and a huge rotating disk of gas and dust develops around the gas core. In the next stage, the gas cloud starts getting condensed and matter around the core develops into small rounded objects. These small rounded objects by the process of cohesion develop into planetesimals. Larger bodies start forming by collision, and gravitational attraction causes the material to stick together. Planetesimals are a large number of smaller bodies. In the final stage, these large number of small planetesimals accrete to form a fewer large bodies to form the planets. In the same way, our solar system is formed. Now let us study briefly about our solar system. Our solar system consists of 8 planets. The nebula from which our solar system is supposed to have been formed started its collapse and core formation sometime 5 to 5.6 billion years ago. The planets were formed about 4.6 billion years ago. Our solar system consists of the Sun, it is a star, 8 planets and 63 moons. Millions of smaller bodies like asteroids and comets, and a huge quantity of dust grains and gases. Out of 8 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars are called as inner planets, and they lie between the Sun and the belt of asteroids. And the other 4 planets are called outer planets. The first 4 planets are called terrestrial, its meaning Earth-like. They are made up of rock and metals and have relatively high density. The rest 4 planets are called Jovian, which means Jupiter-like or gas-giant planets. Most of them are much larger than the terrestrial planets and have thick atmosphere, mostly of helium and hydrogen. The few differences between the terrestrial planets and Jovian planets are as follows. The terrestrial planets were formed in a close vicinity of the parent star, where it was too warm for gases to condense to solid particle. Jovian planets were formed at quite a distant location. The solar winds was most intense near the sun, so it blew off lots of gas and dust from the terrestrial planets. The solar winds were not all at that intense to cause similar removal of gases from the Jovian planets. The terrestrial planets are smaller and their lower gravity could not hold the escaping gases. Till recently, that is till 2006, Pluto was also considered as a planet, but it is now considered as a dwarf planet. Let us know about each planet in brief. Mercury is the closest to the Sun. It has temperature range of 427 degree centigrade on its side facing the Sun, and minus 270 degrees centigrade on its dark side. It has no atmosphere. Next, Venus. It is the closest neighbor of the Earth. It is about 4,000 million kilometers away. It is an extremely hot planet with a temperature of 480 degrees centigrade. Its atmosphere has 96% carbon dioxide and poisonous gases like sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. Earth is the only planet known to sustain life. Next, Mars. It is also close to Earth. It is called the red planet. It has 95% of carbon monoxide. It is relatively a very cold planet, and as of now, presence of life on it has not been conclusively established. Next is Jupiter. Is the largest planet of the solar system. It is mainly a rapidly spinning ball of gas, especially clouds of ammonia, and has no solid surface. Next, Saturn. It consists mainly of hydrogen and helium. Its atmosphere has 90% nitrogen and temperature of minus 180 degrees centigrade. It is also made up of hydrogen cyanide, which is highly poisonous gas. It is characterized by the ring that surrounds it. Next, Uranus is also a very cold planet. Uranus is a distant planet of the solar system and the 7th in the order from the Sun. Uranus and Neptune are the outermost planets of the solar system. Uranus has a highly tilted rotational axis. Neptune is the cold and dark, with its surface coated with a frozen methane. Next, let us know about the Moon. The Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth. Like the origin of the Earth, there have been attempts to explain how the Moon is formed. In 1838, Sir George Darwin suggested that initially the Earth and the Moon formed a single rapidly rotating body. The whole mass became the dumbbell-shaped body, and eventually it broke. It was suggested that the material forming the Moon was separated from what we have at present, the depression occupied at the Pacific Ocean. However, the present scientists do not accept either of the explanations. It is now generally believed that the formation of the Moon as a satellite of the Earth is an outcome of gained impact. It is also known as the big splat. A body of the size of 1 to 3 times that of Mars collided into the Earth sometimes shortly after the Earth was formed. It blasted a large part of the Earth into space. This portion of blasted material then continued to orbit the Earth and eventually formed to the present Moon. And it was about 4.44 billion years ago. We have already studied how proto-Earth was formed. Now let us know about the evolution in Earth. Evolution of the Earth. The planet the planet Earth was initially barren, rocky and hot object with a thin atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. This is far from the present day picture of the Earth. Hence, there must have been some events processes which may have caused this change from rocky, barren, hot Earth to a beautiful planet with ample amount of water and conductive atmosphere favoring the existence of life. The Earth has a layered structure. From the outermost end of the atmosphere to the center of the Earth, the material that exists is not uniform. The atmospheric matter has a least density. From the surface to the deeper depth, the Earth's interior has different zones, and each of these contains material with different characteristics. Evolution of lithosphere. The Earth was mostly in a volatile state during its primordial stage. Due to the gradual increase in density, the temperature inside was increased. As a result, the material inside started getting separated depending on their densities. These allowed heavier materials like iron to sink towards the center of the earth and the lighter ones to move towards the surface. With passage of time, it cooled further and solidified and condensed into a smaller size. These later led to development of outer surface in the form of a crust. During the formation of the moon, due to the gained impact, the earth was further heated up. It is through the process of differentiation that the earth forming material got separated into different layers. Starting from the surface to the central part, we have layers like the crust, mantle, outer core and the inner core. From the crust to the core, the density of the material increases. Now let us know about the evolution of atmosphere and hydrosphere. During the cooling of the earth, gases and water vapors were released from the interior solid earth. This started the evolution of the present atmosphere. The early atmosphere largely contained water vapors, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia and very little of free oxygen. The process through which the gases were outpoured from the interior is called degassing. Continuous volcanic eruption contributed water vapors and gases to the atmosphere. As the earth cooled, the water vapor released started getting condensed. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere got dissolved in rainwater and the temperature further decreased, causing more condensation and more rains. The rainwater falling onto the surface got collected in the depressions to give rise to oceans. The Earth's ocean were formed within 500 million years from the formation of the Earth. This tells us that the oceans are old as 4,000 million years. Sometime around 3,800 million years ago, life began to evolve. However, around 2,500 to 3,000 million years ago, the process of photosynthesis got evolved. Life was confined to the oceans for the long time. Oceans began to have the contribution of oxygen through the process of photosynthesis. Eventually, the oceans were saturated with oxygen, and 2000 million years ago, oxygen began to flood the atmosphere. Let us know about the origin and evolution of life on Earth. In The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin hypothesized the new species arise from the modification of existing one. That the raw material of life is life, but somehow and somewhere the tree of life had to take root from non-living precursors. To begin with, conditions on the earth were inhospitable for life. Gases of the primitive atmosphere were primarily methane, ammonia, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. Water vapor filled the atmosphere, but there was no free oxygen. It was thus the reducing atmosphere on primitive Earth, and no life existed. Biological evolution. As Earth cooled, water vapor condensed to form liquid water. Rains poured to form water bodies on Earth. The molecules of life were formed in the water. From the molecules of life evolved. Bacteria is the earliest and the simplest organisms. For almost 2 billion years, different kinds of bacteria lived on Earth. Once these evolved a green pigment called chlorophyll. The chlorophyll containing bacteria used carbon dioxide and water and released oxygen through photosynthesis, which started accumulating in the atmosphere. Thus, the atmosphere gradually transformed from the reducing to oxidizing. At one point of time, oxygen content in the atmosphere became 21%. Such changes served as a big trigger for the biological evolution to begin and process, and this led to the invention of the by living organisms. As time passed, protists evolved from bacteria. Both are unicellular. Then came multicellular organisms, the fungi, followed by plants and animals. Today, the diversity of living organisms is comprised of 5 kingdoms of life. They are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Thank you. In next class, let us study about geological history of Earth.